And welcome to Flightdeck Live. I am Tim Capper along with Cliffy D. Pine, and welcome to Percival Molson Stadium, where the Alouettes do come back and beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders by a score of 20-16. But it is how the Alouettes pull this off, because if you were here before halftime, you may have thought of leaving, but then you would have missed one hell of a comeback.
Without question. I mean, talk about a tale of two different games. So the first half was, let's call it what it was. It was a dog's breakfast. It was just, nothing was working. Anything that could go wrong for the Montreal Alouettes did go wrong. The Saskatchewan Roughriders put up 16 points right away, and they just dominated. Simply put, they dominated the first half. And Caleb Evans did what he could, but I mean, it just wasn't his night tonight, unfortunately.
No, it really wasn't. And it's something that we had talked about specifically on the podcast this week, when it came to the differences between a 1, 2, and a 3 when it came to you guys who were there under center. And, Caleb was given the nod tonight, but if everybody remembers how well he did versus Saskatchewan last year, here at home also, where the Alouettes shellacked the Roughriders, it wasn't the same Caleb Evans in any way, shape, or form this time around.
No, not even close. That's the unfortunate part. I mean, also too, this was not the same Saskatchewan Roughriders team that played here last year and got their butts handed to them. I mean, folks, let me tell you something. This Saskatchewan Roughriders team is definitely for real. They're not 5-2 by accident. I mean, they are a very good team. I mean, you take a look at what Shea Patterson was able to do. I mean, he looked very solid out there. Frankie Hickson literally ran roughshod over the Alouettes for that first half. I mean, the run defense for this Alouettes team was practically non-existent in the first half. And truthfully, didn't look a whole lot better in the second half, but at least the defense, by and large, did get the job done in the second half. And again, it's not how you start here in the Canadian Football League, but it's how you finish.
It's true. Again, the stats say it all, but I think what everybody was wondering the most when it came to the second half is that where the Alouettes going to make a change, considering that they, offense was anemic. They couldn't stop anybody. The thing was, who was going to be under center in the second half? And I think we almost knew immediately, because we saw once the halftime show was done, it wasn't Caleb Evans who was doing the warm-ups. It was, who was our number 3 this week, David Alexander.
Yeah, and also too, like if you were in the crowd tonight, you would have actually heard people saying, "We want Alexander." They wanted Alexander in this match, and they got what they wanted. And boy, oh boy, talk about night and day. Talk about a complete paradigm shift for this football team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're talking about consistent. Caleb, it wasn't. It's sort of like for Alexander, it was King Alexander for the half. But I mean, it ended up being for the day itself. He's not going to get the win as a starter because he didn't start the game. But again, we got to talk to CFL stats guru Steve Daniel and see if we can get that changed, at least for in this case. But for a guy who Alouettes fans, if you've been around long enough, have been able to watch Davis do what he has. He's talented, and for him to 4 or 5 years in, finally getting his first two CFL touchdown passes.
Yep, both of them to Reggie White Jr. no less. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. When Davis came into the game, like I said, everything shifted. It was just a completely different offense under Davis Alexander, what Caleb Evans was able to do, and spreading the ball around, finding Tyson Philpott, who basically was non-existent in the first half. Tyson Philpott and Davis Alexander had that immediate connection, like they've been playing together for years even. And then Reggie White Jr., 2 tutties, absolutely phenomenal. Damn near got a third. I think Philpott almost got a touchdown in the end zone. Had the end zone not been that irregular shape, that could have very well been a touchdown. That would have been the third touchdown pass for Davis Alexander, but lo and behold, it was not meant to be.
No, Davis started off the second half. I mean, and you could start off any better. He started off 12 for 12 before he had his first incompletion. It is the third time this year that a quarterback has gone over, has done a streak like that to start a game. Obviously, the 2 others being Fajardo. But he just had a hell of a game. Again, you have to be in practice in order to see what Davis Alexander can do. He did what he needed to do. Again, as you said, the running game still was non-existent in the second half. That's something that they really do need to work on, because you and I joke with Caleb Evans going to lead the team in rushing. No, that wasn't the case. No. But other than that, I mean, if you were here, you're one of the 19,000, close to 20,000 that were here at Percival Molson today. You got your money's worth. You obviously went away happy, and it's just a matter of how this team was able to impress in the second half, considering when, for all we know, it could have been over. But as we've seen, this team is very resilient. Doesn't matter what their record is, but this team is very resilient this year.
Yeah, and a lot of people were saying that this game was going to be a really interesting one because you essentially got the top two teams in the CFL facing off against each other. And Saskatchewan, they've got some great momentum. They too are dealing now with a backup quarterback running the show and doing a very, very respectable job too. I mean,
Yep, former Alouette Shea Patterson.
Exactly. I mean, it's like Shea Patterson knows what it's like to be in this stadium, and I don't know if he was ready for just how loud it was going to get being on the other side of it because once again, folks, the Thunderdome came alive, and when the Alouettes defense took the field against this Roughrider offense, it got loud. You saw the fireflies, you saw the noise, everything. It was rocking, just exactly what we want the stadium to be each and every single time. But my goodness, I mean, this team really truly came alive in the second half. They really showed who they were in the second half.
They really did, and again, we can't say anymore. Obviously, you get Alexander for the day.
Hold on. Alexander the Great.
So there we go. It's an even better one. It'll be an even better one.
Put some respect on Alexander the Great.
There we go. There we go. He's such a humble guy. I don't think he would accept that here. So
He'd be blushing right now if you were here.
Speaking of Davis Alexander, he ended up finishing the game 15 of 18 for 178 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And he, poised, was able to keep things under control. Didn't make it be really seem to be any forced passes out there. It just Davis took control of this offense, and I think Alouettes fans are more than happy about that.
Yeah, and the thing is, the moment wasn't too big for him. Like sometimes you get out in a situation like this, in a pressure cooker essentially, and most people would wilt. But Davis, he looked like a veteran out there. This didn't faze him at all. I mean, okay, it helps that he was in front of his hometown fans, as opposed to playing in say that if the game was in Saskatchewan, it would be a different story. Maybe not. But tonight, he really looked. He looked like a pro. He was playing a grown man's game and looked absolutely phenomenal in doing so.
Yeah, obviously we are going to go into this a little bit more detail on the broadcast on Wednesday. Obviously, we do also have the season ticket holder event that the Alouettes are going to be holding this Sunday over at the big stadium over at the Esplanade. We don't know what's going to be happening, but stay tuned to our socials. I'm sure we'll post some stuff there and maybe do an impromptu live. It's just a stay tuned. Leading receiver for the Alouettes, Cliff was Tyson Philpott. 11 targets, 7 receptions for 88 yards. Obviously, Reggie White Jr. had the 2 touchdowns. And this is where we were talking about the concerning portion of it. Walter Fletcher did lead the team, Cliff, but it was 5 attempts, 16 yards.
Yeah, I mean, compared to what Frankie Hickson did, I mean, he had just under 100 yards in the first half alone.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about night and day. I mean, the run defense for the Alouettes was non-existent by and large, but I mean, Saskatchewan, they just bottled up Fletcher, Antwi, all those guys. I mean, Davis had no choice but to put the ball in the air because the ground game just it wasn't happening.
No,
unfortunately today.
No, it wasn't. And I think one of the big signs of how well this team is doing in the second half is you look at that drive. Toronto last home game had one that really ended the game. The Alouettes had one tonight. I think it was a 13-play drive in the fourth quarter that lasted for like 7 minutes and 40 seconds. They only came away with 3, but if you look at the way the scoreboard is, it made it so that the Roughriders had to score a touchdown in order to win.
That's right. And again, we saw what the Alouettes did 2 weeks ago against Toronto. They got ran over. They got ran over tonight as well. But again, when the time came, this defense came to play and looked phenomenal doing so. I mean, they had no choice but to give Shea Patterson credit for what he was able to do tonight. But when the time came to shut the door, that's exactly what they did. And of course, as we said, the crowd here definitely helped the cause. They definitely helped get everybody hyped. And it's funny, talking with these players after the game, they're always so impressed with how loud the crowd gets. And just, you got the fireflies going, you've got everybody getting loud, the music's going, everything like that. Like, it is rocking here. I mean, it does sound like an NFL stadium at times.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to make sure we talked about on the podcast this week was specifically talking about the differences between first, second, and third string. I actually was able to pose the question to Coach Moss, and luckily I posed it in such a way where he was more than gracious to answer the question. But it was very interesting to see that for him, obviously him being the head coach.
And former quarterback in this league too.
Exactly. It really does come down to the opportunity, and I kind of agree with him on that one. And the question was asked in such a way where it wasn't talking about Cody versus Caleb versus Davis. It wasn't that. It wasn't that type of question. It was wanting to know from a head coach's point of view, what is the difference when it comes to that. But he also did say when it comes to the difference between when it comes to experience or how good these guys are, it's minuscule between the two, or at least our current four quarterbacks that we have. So it was very refreshing to hear from Coach Moss. And speaking of refreshing, one little funny note is that we did notice that Coach Moss shaved. And we always joke around and say that players aren't superstitious in any way, shape, or form. No. Coach just happened to let us know also that he thinks he's probably going to keep it that way for a little while. So
well, it's the summertime too. I mean, do you really want to be lugging around a big heavy beard? Yeah, I personally wouldn't. I mean, I can't grow a beard to save my life, so maybe I'm not the best person to talk to in this regards. But yeah, we'll defer to Coach Moss, and if he wants to be comfortable and clean shaven, I think
why not? Again, Al's come away with this. They got Hamilton back to back. You will be able to see us, obviously, on the podcast that's coming up this week, and obviously you'll see us live on the next Flightdeck Live, even though the game is in Hamilton. Any last words here, Cliff, before we finish up tonight?
Yes, I was able to see our man Chris from Winnipeg, the ex-Pegger on Twix. He was here. He made it literally by the skin of his teeth. A hilarious story, which I'll tell on the podcast. His adventure to get from Ottawa, where he lives, here to Montreal in order to continue his chase for the Guinness World Record of most quickest attendance of all 9 CFL teams. Also, too, I have to give a lot of props to a lot of Alouettes fans and Rider fans that were here tonight. They were throwing money in this bucket, take pictures of the QR code so that they can make the donation online. Once again, I can't express how important it is for Chris to get his record first and foremost, but more importantly to raise the funds so that at the CFL Fans Fight Cancer event this coming November in Vancouver, if he's able to hand over a crap ton of cash, in addition to everybody else doing everything they can to help raise money for the CFL Fans Fight Cancer event, I'll be so proud. And props to Chris for making it, just barely making it. And now God willing, he will be able to finish his conquest this weekend as he goes to Ottawa tomorrow to attend the Red Blacks game, and then hopefully is able to get to Toronto and finish his quest against or watching the Argos play on Saturday.
And if you can't follow him, he had a little bit of a story over on his social. I mean, it was. I saw it. And he said he was probably gonna have a book to write out of this. I wouldn't be surprised. So the Alouettes come away with a 20-16 win over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, moved to 6-1. They're now 4 points up. Let's say 4 points up on the Ottawa Red Blacks. And as they get ready for the Hamilton Tiger Cats coming. So we appreciate everybody who joined us. We hope the broadcast was better, except our slight glitch at the very beginning. But other than that, we appreciate you joining us every post-game show. So,
and don't forget, make sure you like, subscribe, make sure you're following us on whatever social media platform you're watching this on.
Yeah.
Because again, once we go live, and we talked about this many times, no photo bombs tonight apparently, but video bombs I should say. But anything can happen when we go live. We appreciate those lights. Yeah. Do you think they're trying to get rid of us?
No, it's ambiance.
Okay,
it's ambiance.
Mood lighting. I like it.
Yeah. The players can have the fireflies.
Indeed. So yes, make sure you like, subscribe, make sure you're following us, and as always, make sure you're tuned in. You never know when we're going to go live, and maybe even as early as this Sunday, we'll do an impromptu live and talk about what we saw at the season ticket holders event this coming Sunday.
Exactly. So stay tuned over our socials for any other information. But Al's come away with the win, and again, they move on to get ready for the Hamilton Tiger Cats in Hamilton coming up this Friday. next Friday. So
Start of a back-to-back.
exactly. So for everybody here at the Person Wilson Stadium for the I'm Tim Capper. Talk to you soon.